Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. That's right, double upload day. What a day. And Celtic going through to the Europa League group stages. It was another nervy one to watch at times, but at the end of the day, we've managed to scrape our way through into the group stages now. Very good for Neil Lennon and the team. We're going to talk about everything in the game tonight against Sarajevo, the positives, the negatives. Ultimately, I'm just extremely happy that these games are done. We can put them behind us and move on. Fantastic stuff. Apologies for the dodgy lighting, it is tougher to do at these times of night when it's dark outside. You've not really got a lot of light, the bulb needs changed, the ring light is really the only thing that keeps us going, so apologies for that. But Celtic through a 1-0 win over Sarajevo in Bosnia tonight sees us through to the same situation that we've seen last year, the Europa League group stages. Of course we all wanted the Champions League, that was the ideal situation, but Ferencvaros knocked us out. We went on and we've scraped past Riga and Sarajevo, but nonetheless we've done it, and that's what matters most. We've got a big season ahead of us domestically, and I'm sure if you offered any Celtic fans any route into the Europa League group stages this year, they would have took it. And despite the negatives that we all complained about against Ferencvaros and against Riga, I think tonight it was a lot more positive against Sarajevo. For me, there wasn't as many complaints. I thought we controlled the game, we dominated the game. Of course, what the scoreline may suggest that it was narrowly done again and not done too well, but the second half was a complete different atmosphere and complexion to the first half. I thought the second half we looked a lot better, and in the second half we probably should have got more goals. Yes, we'll speak out the first half first because that makes more sense, but the first half wasn't great. We looked that same way we did against Riga, and as I said on Twitter, you know, it was like watching the same qualifying match 3 times in a row. It looked the exact same as Ferencvaros, looked the exact same as Riga, and it was the same tonight. We were flat, we didn't look inventive. I feel like going forward, there just wasn't a lot of creativity. Second half starts and I thought it changed completely. Edouard woke up. I think he looked great in the second half. We were breaking a bit more, and maybe that's to do with the fact that they changed their style. Sarajevo in the first half were a lot deeper sitting. They were a lot more compact. They were getting men. They were getting 2 men at a time on players with the ball. Ultimately, they had that 10 men behind the ball defence, which Celtic can't cope with. We've seen it so far this season, and domestically and in Europe. That is our trump card to failing. We can't play against those teams, and they worked it perfectly in the second half. They came out a bit more higher up, the line was brought forward, they were pressing a bit more, and they left themselves open to some counter-attacks. At times I didn't think we were too quick on the counter, but Edouard, when he was going forward with the ball, he was great. I think there was 2 or 3 separate occasions where he took the ball himself and charged up the park and created. And it was great to see. You know, a lot of people like to claim he's lazy and doesn't look bothered. Well, to me, you know, moving forward the way he did with the ball was a point in the game. You know what I'm talking about. He just took the man out the game, used his feet brilliantly. A little bit of skill took him right out. Player was on his backside, see Demora. It was great viewing. I loved it. But a couple of times in the counter, we could have been better. We could have been faster. I don't think we reacted quick enough. There's a couple of players who I think were really guilty of that tonight, and some performances that we'll speak about later in the video that could have been better. But ultimately we went on, we got the goal, Edouard putting it in the back of the net. A typical Ajeti finish, right place, right time. It's how Ajeti's got the majority of his 5 goals so far this season, and now Edouard is following up on that. He's been taking some lessons. He was there to finish up a parried shot from Ryan Christie and put it in the back of the net. The commentary was hilarious, by the way. He was screaming he shoots, he scores, as if he wasn't 5 yards out. It was hardly a shot, he just tapped it into the net. But nonetheless, we're through, and it's fantastic. I feel like there was a lot of positives in that second half. So it's time for us now to move forward into the Europa League in the group stage and have a party once more. Can we repeat the antics of last year? We'll just have to wait to see what teams we get. But we're certainly in a position, I think, now with the squad that we have put together, and the way that Neil Lennon can get the team playing, like we've seen on Sunday against Hibs and tonight in the second half. If we play like that, we've got a real good chance of getting past the stage we did last year. We should have made it past the last 32 last year, and in my opinion the squad has only got better. So it's a real interesting year for the Europa League, and I'm excited. So on to the 3 things we learned then. It was an interesting game. There wasn't a lot to pick on in individual lessons learned in the game. It was the same old stuff. As I said, it was like watching the same game until that second half kicked off. But of course, there's always a lesson to be learned in these, and as Celtic move on, Neil Lennon will be picking up lessons. Hopefully, Nir Bitton is not hurt for too long. Had to go off very early on in the game. Another thing that I said on Twitter, you know, he's like Marco Reus. He starts playing incredibly well. His form starts picking up big time. and then he gets an injury and he's out, and God knows when we'll see him. But luckily enough, we have this international break coming up now, so he has a chance to recuperate. If it's not too bad, still waiting to hear the verdict from it, but let's hope it's not the worst. Right then, first lesson that we learned in the game for me moving forward, Turnbull has to be starting over Ryan Christie until Christie rekindles the form that we know he has. Look, in the opening 6 months or so of last season, Ryan Christie was probably the best player on the team. He was really good. He was our top scorer to a point in the season. He was getting assists all over the place. Ultimately, he looked deadly on the ball. His footwork, his technical ability was top notch. I think tonight, in the last few performances, Ryan Christie has looked, it feels harsh saying useless, but he's certainly not been himself, and I've not been a fan of him recently. And Turnbull came on the park the other night and showed, the other day, and showed how good a player he can be. While Christie's slacking, tonight he looked, I don't even know how to put it, just rotten. Is that it? Is that what I have to say? He did. He looked rotten. His chances were tame. He was wasteful with them. I think his passing was off the mark big time. Every time he seemed to play that last pass, it was over hit or under hit. There was a time in the second half where he had a chance to spear forward with a counter-attack after he thought someone was fouled. He's just stood there with the ball, played to the whistle, keep going. It's not like us to do that. We usually don't stand about. Usually we keep going and we complain when the referee does eventually stop the game. Christie tonight for me looked terrible, and I think a lot of people are agreeing with that, judging on the social media reaction. And that's not me saying he's done and he should be out of the team for good. I know Ryan Christie has a lot of fans. I've always been sceptical on Christie till about this time last year. But today it looked useless, and I don't see how Turnbull's getting kept on the bench ahead of him, and even Olivier and Cham as well. There's two players there for me who are definitely players that should be in the team ahead of him at the minute. Lennon's obviously got his loyalties to players, we know that, and you see people complaining for Brown to get dropped for so long and he never. That's the captain, I suppose, is a bit different, but certainly has loyalties to players there. For me, Christie has to get benched for a game or two. Bring him on, see if he changes the game as an impact sub, and honestly, I think that role could benefit him more. I think he is more of an impact sub player in this system. As the 4-2-3-1's played, yes, I think that suits Christie well, and that was evident with the first 6 months of last season, because we played the 4-2-3-1, and that's when he was at his best last year. Then we switched to the 3-5-2, and he wasn't quite hitting the heights of the first part of the season. And maybe just doesn't favour this system as much. Super sub, yes. Starting the game, no. I think, when we play on Sunday, I think Turnbull and Cham should be ahead of him in the team, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Not even a slight bit. Second thing that I think we learned tonight is, thank God these are over. I know it's such an obvious, basic thing to say, but these ties were dreadful, and I'm just going to get this point completely out of the way. Celtic didn't look themselves. I don't think we were comfortable travelling away from home, and fair play to these teams we've been playing. The opposition have picked up on everything Celtic are bad at, and that's dealing with the 10 men behind the ball, stretching the game out, getting into us. They were really dirty tonight. They were kicking into us, and that's how Berton ended up going off injured. They make the games difficult. Thank God they're over. Just out the way, we can focus on domestic football. The draw is to be made tomorrow. We will eventually be back and playing European football, but the group stage favours us a lot more. You get teams coming into us and attacking, rather than sitting behind the ball all the time, because ultimately the aim is to get out the group. You want to do that. And last year I don't feel like we faced any difficulties with breaking down teams, and that's because they were attacking the game. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of the group stage, despite us perhaps getting shafted with a group. We could get a really tough one, but I think it allows us to play a lot more entertaining football. We can expand on our creativity, move forward a little bit more, and we don't need to worry about two men marking the one player. Frimpong looks so, he was so covered tonight, it just strangled the life out of his game, and to be fair, he handled it brilliantly, because there was still a lot of things that Frimpong done tonight that were brilliant. I thought he was good moving forward. He broke through a lot of times. He had a couple of opportunities to shoot and goal himself through his hard work, but there's a lot of times I think like the opposition were just strangling him out of the game, and he'll benefit from group stage football when that's not happening as much to him. But thank God this group stage is over. We can move on from it. We can forget about it. Sorry, this qualifying stage is over, and hopefully it brings a lot more positivity back to the team in terms of the social media reactions and such, because we've seen how well we played against Hibs at the weekend. If we can return to playing like that over the course of the next few league games, including the derby, then people will be a lot happier, and the kind of toxic feeling of animosity will disappear. Third thing we learned tonight is I think Brown's coming back slowly to his best. Yes, he started the season poorly. That's probably the bottom line. Poorly. He wasn't great. People wanted him out the team, and quite rightly so. He didn't really offer much. in the middle of the park for us in the first few games of the season, and especially against the likes of Ferencvaros and Riga. He didn't look great. Well, Riga wasn't too bad, but apart the opening league games, people wanted him out. He was draining the sort of fluidity of the going back to front, sort of him being in the middle just kind of drained it all. The sideways passes, maybe going back sometimes. The last two games, Hibs and tonight, I thought he looked great. Maybe that's a bit of an overstatement, but he was solid. Today I think he bossed the middle of the park. His passing was good. I think he was a bit more optimistic with his passing. I think he was looking for a more creative passing, what he normally would. There was a couple of times where he was overlooking the player in front of him and going with the player ahead of him, giving the ball two players ahead, and Brown's not been doing that so far, and he should be, because he can pick a good pass. He's been doing it for the last 15 years of his career, God's sake. Tonight I thought he was great. Real captain's performance. Interceptions were good. Passing was good. Strolled the middle of the park, didn't have any issues. And another shout out to Shane Duffy as well, who I thought was great tonight. His reading of the game was good, intercepting a lot of passes. He was reading the game incredibly well. Good, throwing himself in front of the ball in a couple of opportunities. That one at the 90th minute. But Brown tonight I thought was solid, and I think we'll slowly and surely see him come over the course of this season to be a cracking player. That we all know he is. He's 35 years of age now. He's been the captain for the last 10, 11 years. We know how much we rely on Brown to turn up, because he's never going to be out the team. So you need him at his best. His legs aren't gone. And Lennon said that at the weekend. Seeing him against Hibs, he was moving. The tempo wasn't too much for him. His legs looked fine. It's just a case of him getting his head in the game, I think. And it's a mentality thing for Brown. I think if the first 5-10 minutes he's not feeling it, I think you see him disappear over the course of the 90. And we need him there. As a captain, as someone to set the tone of the game for Celtic, to get other players in gear, you need him at his best. And when he gets to the first 5-10 minutes, you get him for the whole 90 and he's great. So I thought tonight another solid performance from him, real captain, invincible performance, and he never goes over the top and does anything spectacular. You don't get that from Brown often. You see it once or twice a season, but if you consistently get Brown playing at the level that he played tonight against Hibs, there's no problem with him being in that team, and you won't see the same amount of abuse he's been getting on social media. So for me, Brown had a really good performance tonight, and hopefully that carries over, especially with big games coming up. So that's it, that's the three things we've learned and my match review from tonight. Europa League draw is tomorrow. We'll hopefully go live for that. Now you can see my live reactions to the group that Celtic are given, and what is going to be one of the more exciting moments of the season. I always love a good draw. The wee Claudio Ranieri guy. I'm not sure if he even does the Europa League. I wish he did. I hope he does. But aye, we'll go live tomorrow for that, I hope, and continue on the content bandwagon just now. If you have enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts from tonight's game as Celtic head through. It's all about the win. That's all that matters. See y'all next time.